Well, hello to all, and welcome to Section 1. This is an exciting section for me as we completely skip the installation of MySQL, as well as the basics. We jump right into performance and how to get more of it. This section is all about using indexes correctly. Even if you have experience in this area, there's always tons more to learn, and hopefully you will do so here in this section. So let's see what we're going to cover. I have this section divided into 5 videos. You've already seen the first, so let's start from there. First, we'll start with a bit of an intro on indexes and how we can use them to benchmark performance. In the next topic, I'll cover the different types of MySQL indexes and how we can use them. Of course, these indexes need to be maintained, and that's the topic of the third video. And I wrap things up with a discussion on best practices. So, let's get started. This is a good place to start as any, so let's do benchmarking performance with indexes. This topic serves as a what and a why. First, we'll level set on the types of indexes used in MySQL. We'll have a more complete discussion on them in a later topic. By the end of this topic, you will be able to identify the types of indexes used in MySQL and how and why they can be used to benchmark performance. Let's first start out on why we do this. Why do we benchmark indexes? Well, we use indexes to organize our data. This organization allows us the capabilities that you see here. We can try different designs to determine what gives us the best performance. Indexes can help us determine the overall health of our data model, as well as establish a baseline in which to measure performance. Indexes also help us determine cardinality or the uniqueness of a column, and serves as a why to help us evaluate which choice is the correct one. Benchmarks also help us document test cases that will be used for support and subsequent documentation. The type of index you use is important. Using the wrong one can be worse than not using one at all. Unique indexes and primary keys are used to prevent duplicate values in a column, thus speeding up data maintenance, and more importantly, data retrieval. A simple index is used primarily for searching through large result sets quickly. A full text index is a kind of special case, and it's only used with MyISAM and InnoDB tables, and can be created only for char, varchar, or text columns. Full text indexes are not used frequently, but I'll cover them in this course. A descending index is an index that stores key values in the descending order. This is a fairly new feature to MySQL, and I'll cover them too. Using indexes to benchmark performance is a piece of an overall puzzle. Most of us think of using an index to speed up database retrieval. Although that's true, it's really not the whole story. When properly used, indexes also allow the efficient management of data when accessed transactionally via a delete, update, or insert statement. As the saying goes, anyone can put together a database, but not everyone can put together one properly. Indexes allow us to build a database properly, so indexes give us a healthy, high-performing database, a happy database. So then, we have a lot to learn. You may already know how to implement indexes, but how do you know if you're using them correctly, and where can you find them in the system? Indexes are more than just keywords that you use when creating or altering tables. They are physical structures that exist in MySQL or any database. They need to be maintained and tuned. Indexes are very much misunderstood. Most developers think that after an index is created, the database maintains it. Well, that's not completely true. Most of the work in design and maintenance of an index falls into your lap. If you want quality data for reporting and transactional management, knowing the idiosyncrasies of indexes are paramount. Let's take a look. Let us take a quick introductory look at indexes. I'm going to start with the test table that you see here. Now what I have here is I have a script that's going to drop a table called pet and create a table. Now it's not really remarkable, but notice we have one index here, a primary key on the pet ID column. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this script, build the table, and look at the indexes. So let me go back to my SQL prompt and run that script just to make sure that we drop that database correctly and build that table correctly. So the script ran okay. The first line of the script dropped the table, and the second one created the table. So now I have that table in MySQL, that table called pet. Now let's look at the three ways that we can look at the indexes on that table. The first is by doing a simple describe. When we describe that table, we're going to see all of the columns, their data types, and any of the key values they have. So we can see here that pet ID is a primary key. But this doesn't tell us a lot about the indexes, just that it just has one here. Now we could go to the data dictionary, in this case go to information schema, and get some stuff or some information or metadata about the indexes. The first what we can do is we can go to the table constraints view in the data dictionary and look to see what tables have different keys or different indexes. So just by doing a describe, here are the different columns that we can choose from. We can look at, for example, the constraint names. We can look at the table name or the constraint type, and we can see if that index is being enforced, in this case, a primary key. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run a simple SQL statement that's going to list some of these columns for our table name, which we called pet. Now, obviously, we can use all table names if we want to, but here we're just going to use one. So this shows us that we have a primary key on the table and it is enforced. What this does not tell us is it does not tell us what column this primary key is on. To do that, we go to another data dictionary view called key column usage. What this does is this shows us which column in the table has an index on it. Now, in this case, we're just looking for a primary key just to keep things simple. They'll get more complicated as we go. So I'm going to do a quick describe on key column usage just so you could see the different columns that are available to you. Now, we have just as many columns as we have for the tables, but in this view, what we're going to see is we're going to see the specific column that has the primary key or the index on it. And I can illustrate that by running a quick select statement that's going to list the column name that has the constraint that we have illustrated in this SQL statement. And again, I'm just looking for our specific table named pet, but it could be any table at all. And here we see that we have the column pet ID with a primary key. There you have it. You should now have a frame of reference on how and why we use indexes for benchmarking performance. The next step is to learn about the different kinds of indexes you can use and how you can use them in MySQL.